Welcome and thank you for viewing the Understanding the Antipsychotic Quality Measures PowerPoint presentation and transcript. This presentation is one in a series of videos explaining quality measures that comprise the nursing home quality measure domain of the Care Compare Nursing Home 5-star rating system. You may find it helpful to have a copy of the Current Quality Measures User's Manual turned to the Short Stay and Long Stay Antipsychotic Medication Quality Measures pages when reviewing this presentation. The link to that manual is found on the next slide. MDS 3.0 Section 1 and N are included in this quality measure. This presentation contains information from the MDS 3.0 RAI Manual V1.18.11 and MDS 3.0 Quality Measure Users Manual version 16, accessed in January 2024. This presentation is meant to enhance understanding of the quality measures discussed during the presentation and is not meant to take the place of or be inclusive of information and instructions provided by the MDS 3.0 RAI Manual and the MDS 3.0 Quality Measure Users Manual. Any updates to both of these manuals will supersede content presented, and the most current manuals should be utilized at all times. The links to the official CMS site providing the MDS 3.0 RAI manual and MDS 3.0 quality measures materials are provided on this slide. The current materials are found in the download section of the webpage. Each of the MDS assessments has a target date, also known as the event date of an MDS record. The first type of record is the entry record. The target date for the entry record is the date the resident entered your building. For discharge records, the target date is the date of the resident's discharge. The discharge record is coded as a resident whom you are not expecting to return, or as a resident you are anticipating to return to your facility. Deaths in the facility are also coded as a discharge record. For discharge records, the actual date of discharge or death is coded in item A2000. For any other assessments, such as OBRA, required admission, quarterly, annual, or significant change in status, or the PPS assessments, the target date is the assessment reference date, or sometimes called the ARD. The ARD, or target date, is the last day of the resident's observation period and is MDS item A 2300. For example, if an item on the MDS has a 7-day look-back period, the information collected for the 7-day period will end on the ARD at midnight. For each of these target dates, you will want to make sure that you include anything that occurs on that date up until midnight. During this presentation, we refer to the target assessment. This is the reason for the MDS assessment. The federally required OBRA assessments are completed on admission, quarterly, annually, and with a change in status. An OBRA assessment may also be completed when making a significant correction to a prior MDS assessment. For OBRA assessments, MDS item A0310A is coded as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. For Medicare Part A residents, the target assessment is the 5-day scheduled PPS assessment. Item A0310B is coded as 01. Another reason for a target assessment may be a discharge assessment. The discharge assessments considered for this quality measure are those coded as 10 or 11 in item A0310F return not anticipated or return anticipated. We'll go through a few definitions. There are two types of stays when looking at the quality measures: long stays and short stays. Short stays look at those residents who have been in your facility 100 days or less. In this presentation, we are looking at two antipsychotic quality measures, one that is a short stay measure and one that is a long stay measure. A couple of points to keep in mind related to the length of stay. When calculating cumulative days in the facility, or CDIF, only the actual days in the facility count towards the CDIF, meaning that if a resident is out of the facility for a short holiday or is hospitalized, those days do not count towards the CDIF. Also, the day of entry counts, but the day of discharge does not. However, if the resident is admitted or readmitted on the same day as they are discharged, then the resident is considered as having a 1-day stay. These stays may include one or more interruptions, indicated by an interrupted stay, where a 0310G1 is coded as a 1 as long as it is 3 days or less. We'll first discuss the elements of the percent of residents who received an antipsychotic medication long stay quality measure. This measure is used in the 5-star rating system and is part of the quality measure domain reported on CMS Care Compare. To be included in the long-stay antipsychotic numerator, the resident's MDS at item N04115A1 is coded as taking an antipsychotic medication during the last 7 days or since admission entry or re-entry, if less than 7 days during the look-back period of the MDS assessment. On the Casper report, the numerator is the actual number of residents who were impacted by the quality measure condition during the report period. This example shows that 15 residents are included in the numerator as taking an antipsychotic medication during this target period. On the Casper report, the denominator is the number of residents potentially impacted by the quality measure condition during the report period. So, in this example, 48 residents are part of the denominator. For the long-stay antipsychotic quality measure, all residents who have a stay at your facility 101 days or more with a selected target assessment discussed in Slide 4 are included in the denominator unless they have an exclusion. Exclusions are certain conditions that will exclude a resident from being counted in the numerator and denominator. There are 2 conditions where long-stay residents are excluded from the long-stay antipsychotic quality measure. The first condition is where the long-stay resident's MDS is coded as not being assessed for taking antipsychotic medications during the target assessment. In this case, there is a dash in the box of MDS item N04115A1 where taking an antipsychotic is coded. I want to caution you about using dashes. When a dash is used, it indicates that this item was not assessed. The most common use of the dash is when a resident is discharged or dies before the item could be assessed. Dashes should not be used routinely and can affect your quality measures by reducing the size of the resident denominator, causing an increase in your facility percentages, resulting in an inaccurate picture of your nursing home residents or quality improvement efforts. The second condition that is excluded are long-stay residents who have a schizophrenia, Huntington's disease, or Tourette's syndrome marked as a current diagnosis on the target assessment in MDS Section 1. Residents with these active diagnoses are not included in the numerator or the denominator for the long-stay antipsychotic quality measure. Additionally, if Tourette's syndrome was marked on a prior assessment but is not coded as active on the target assessment, this will continue to qualify the resident for the exclusion on this measure. Next, we'll discuss the percent of residents who newly received an antipsychotic medication short-stay quality measure. This measure is also used in the 5-star rating system and is part of the quality measure domain reported on CMS Care Compare. To gauge whether this is a new medication, the resident will have received an antipsychotic medication during the target period, but not on their initial assessment. Residents will be excluded from this measure if their initial assessment indicates antipsychotic medication use is already happening on 1 or more of the days evaluated, or the use of antipsychotics is unknown, meaning the N0410A is dashed. To be included in the short-stay antipsychotic numerator, the resident's MDS at item N0415A1 is coded as taking an antipsychotic medication during the last 7 days during the look-back period of the MDS assessment. For the short-stay antipsychotic quality measure, all residents who have a stay at your facility 100 days or less with a selected target assessment discussed in Slide 4 are included in the denominator unless they have an exclusion and who meet these 3 conditions. 1. The resident has a target assessment. 2. The resident has an initial assessment. And 3. The target assessment is not the same as the initial assessment. There are 3 conditions where short-stay residents are excluded from the short-stay antipsychotic quality measure. The first condition is where the short-stay resident's MDS is coded as not being assessed for taking antipsychotic medications for all assessments in the lockback scan, excluding the initial assessment, for assessments with target dates on or after October 1st, 2023. In this case, there is a dash in the box of MDS item N0415A1 where taking an antipsychotic is coded. I want to caution you about using dashes. When a dash is used, it indicates that this item was not assessed. The most common use of the dash is when a resident is discharged or dies before the item could be assessed. Dashes should not be used routinely and can affect your quality measures by reducing the size of the resident denominator, causing an increase in your facility percentages, resulting in an inaccurate picture of your nursing home residents or quality improvement efforts. The second condition that is excluded are short-stay residents who have schizophrenia, Huntington's disease, or Tourette's syndrome marked as a current diagnosis on any assessment in the look-back scan in MDS Section 1. Residents with these active diagnoses are not included in the numerator or the denominator for the short-stay antipsychotic quality measure. And third, residents will be excluded from this measure if their initial assessment with target dates on or after October 1, 2023 indicates antipsychotic medication was taken indicated by N0415A1 equal sign, 1 or the use of antipsychotics is unknown, meaning N0415A1 is dashed. The MDS manual provides coding instructions and tips for accurate and proper MDS coding. I encourage you to review the MDS manual frequently, as the volume of instructions and special circumstances cannot be committed to memory for coding all of the MDS items. Here are a few tips to remember. A review of the medical record is needed to identify active diagnoses. Active diagnoses need to be documented by the practitioner within the last 60 days and be active during the 7-day look-back period. Be certain that all current diagnoses are coded on the MDS in Section 1. Check if an antipsychotic medication was taken by the resident anytime during the 7-day look-back period or since admission, entry, or re-entry if less than 7 days. Medications on the MDS are coded by their pharmacological class or therapeutic category, not how the medication is used. For example, compazine is given for severe nausea and vomiting. However, its classification is an antipsychotic medication, and it should be coded as such. When long-acting medications are given to residents, they are only counted if they are given during the 7-day look-back period or since the admission/entry date or re-entry. For example, haloperidol decanoate may be given IM to a resident monthly. However, if it was not received during the 7-day look-back period, it is not coded on the MDS because the day it was given is not during in the look-back period. When residents receive combination medications, the MDS is coded to recognize both drug classifications. For example, Symbyax is a combination of fluoxetine and olanzapine. When coding the MDS, the fluoxetine component would be coded as an antidepressant, and the olanzapine component would be coded as an antipsychotic. At least monthly, you should review the antipsychotic QMs with your interdisciplinary team, IDT, keeping alert for improvement opportunities. Your consultant pharmacist needs to be a key member of this team. When looking at your Casper facility level report, pay special attention to those QMs that are starred in the far right column, labeled Comparison Group National Percentile. The star indicates that the facility's rate for the quality measure, in this instance, the long-stay or short-stay antipsychotic QM, is greater than 75% of the skilled facilities in the country. In other words, 75% of the nursing homes in the U.S. are doing better in this measure than your facility, and therefore, you should work to improve this QM. Also, on the Casper facility level report, you can see the columns that show the comparison state and national average rates to compare your nursing home status to the rest of the state and the nation. Again, if your rates are higher than those rates, this may indicate an area in need of improvement. All of these comparison rates can provide you with a starting place, but it is vital to do your own tracking of current residents that are receiving antipsychotic medications, when it is appropriate to attempt gradual dose reductions, GDRs, and the behaviors that precipitate the need for antipsychotic medications. If you have a large number of residents on antipsychotic medications, you may want to look at the Antipsychotic Reduction Prioritization tool and tutorial to help you identify which residents you want to start working with and track your progress on reducing antipsychotic meds. Take a look at your Casper resident level reports. Do these match up with your awareness of antipsychotic medication usage? If someone appears on the list that you don't think meets the criteria of antipsychotic medication QMs, as outlined in the MDS 3.0 Quality Measure User Manual, and as discussed during this presentation, take a look at the coding of Section N in the resident's MDS. Is there an error? Look at Section 1 for active diagnoses. Is one of exclusion diagnosis missing that should be checked? Are there PRN prescriptions for antipsychotics? Rapid improvement in behaviors as the result of antipsychotic medications are rare due to therapeutic effects of the medication are more likely due to the medication's sedating effect, and therefore not the appropriate method for treating the resident's need. Are you investigating and exploring individualized non-pharmacological interventions to address resident distress? When there are changes in condition or new interventions, is that new information communicated to everyone who needs to know? On all shifts, there are several resources that you can use to assist you when working on the antipsychotic quality measures. We've provided the State Operations Manual link for review of the rules and regulations related to antipsychotic medications and to be aware of what the surveyors are looking for. In addition, the CMS policy and memos can provide documentation of any changes to the regulation. Percent of residents receiving an antipsychotic medication is a publicly reported quality measure on the CMS Care Compare website. Use this website to view what consumers see regarding your nursing home and the quality measures. In addition, you can see how your nursing home compares with nursing homes in your city, region, state, and nationally. Here we have the Great Plains QN tip sheets for both the long-stay and short-stay antipsychotic quality measures. These are written to be a resource for those individuals completing the MDS. The Great Plains QIN Nursing Home webpage has additional tools and resources specific to reducing antipsychotic medications. Contact your state's Great Plains QIN Nursing Home. Contact for more information or technical assistance concerning either of the antipsychotic medication QMs or any of the nursing home quality measures. Thank you for taking time to learn more about the short stay and the long stay percent of residents who receive an antipsychotic medication quality measure, and for all you do in improving the quality of care to your residents.